Meet Tommy. Tommy is an 8-year-old boy in grade 3. He loves to help his dad with outdoor tasks. He has a passion for dinosaurs, does not like to read, adores his little sister Olga, and loves to play Lego with his two best friends, Sasha and Cohen. Some of Tommy's strengths involve verbal and visual reasoning, visual long-term memory, auditory long-term memory for context, graphomotor skills, he's an excellent typer, executive functioning skills, and he's a motivated learner. Tommy can use some help with processing speed, phonological processing, long-term memory for details, decoding, word reading, and fluency, and arithmetic, adding, subtracting, and multiplication. While selecting an AT, I used Todd Cunningham's AT selection tool in order to narrow down which specific areas we will be focusing on for Tommy. These include reading. After exploring the many options listed in AT implementation, I narrowed it down to one of the 4 ATs that were discussed in week 5, which focused on decoding. I then decided that Google Read and Write would be the best fit for Tommy given the following circumstances. It will address many of Tommy's difficulties with reading. He's an above average typer, which will come into action with the use of Google Read and Write. Google Read and Write is a free tool, which will be helpful given Tommy's parents' modest income, his stay-at-home mother, and father who is a plumber. Cedar Creek's public school board does not have network license of Mindomo, Kurzweil, Firefly, and Dragon V11, which makes Google Read and Write a good fit. Seeing as Tommy's home and school are in rural areas, the internet is of quite low quality. Google Read and Write is known for being a compatible tool even with the weakest of internets. So why choose Google Read and Write? Here are some of the tools. Word prediction, dictionary, picture dictionary, fact finder, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, translator, and highlighters. Some research on Google Read and Write, which was provided by my colleague Monica, stated the following. Google Read and Write has the capability to have text read aloud and provides tools that define words, talk into a microphone to record voice, and other tools that empower students to be able to read to learn. For such reasons, having programs like these can help alleviate the stress of reading text for students who lack decoding abilities. This quote resonated with me as it perfectly fits one of the main criteria that I will be working on with Tommy. Now let's take a look at some key areas and learning strategies. I chose to narrow it down to Tommy's difficulties in reading. This way we will be able to address several key areas that Tommy needs to improve before passing on to grade 4. I believe that with the help of Google Read and Write, he will be able to improve on the following key areas as per Tommy's file. Reading so he can keep up with classwork, word problems in math, all writing output, and worksheets. For the first learning strategy for decoding, Boyle and colleagues found that the value of audio textbooks as an assistive device for students with mild cognitive disabilities allowed high school students to access high-level content material and achieve higher quiz and test scores. I thus found that the speech-to-text and text-to-speech tools from Google Read and Write would be beneficial for Tommy, with the hope of increasing his low grades. Using speech-to-text as a starting point for decoding will be helpful for Tommy. He will begin by speaking into his headset and brainstorm ideas on a topic of interest that he would like to write about. This way, he will be warming up to the idea of reading rather than jumping right in. Working one sentence at a time, Tommy will then go back and edit his sentences one at a time. His focus will be mostly on punctuation, such as adding commas, periods, and capitals. Next, using text-to-speech, Tommy will have the opportunity to have his work read back to him. The highlighter will be activated to highlight one word at a time at a very slow pace. Tommy will be encouraged to read aloud along with the text-to-speech voice. Throughout this process, Tommy will make edits as he sees fit. What's more, Montali and her colleagues researched the effects of bimodal reading, which involves on-screen, highlighted reading accompanied with an automated voice, on a group of average to poor readers in grades 8 and 9. The result of the study suggests a comprehension enhancement in poor readers with bimodal presentation of text, as stated on page 276. Thus, the research mentioned above supports the use of text-to-speech and speech-to-text for Tommy with the belief that these specific tools will improve Tommy's difficulties with decoding, which will positively impact his feelings of uneasiness with reading and likely increase his grades. Now let's take a look at a second strategy for word reading. Using the highlighting tool will be helpful for Tommy's difficulties in word reading. As Tommy reads through the provided text, he will highlight certain words that he either had a difficult time pronouncing or simply did not know. Tommy will then have a separate document entitled Vocabulary List. This list will accumulate as he continues to do his reading. He will then refer back to his list and read over the words until his pronunciation has improved. Research conducted by Schmidt and colleagues suggests that the repeated reading intervention, which involves multiple trials of passage, reading before comprehension, is assessed to improve factual comprehension. Thus, my hope here is that by continuously referring back to his vocabulary list and repeating old and new words as they come, his word reading and comprehension skills will improve. Third learning strategy will involve fluency. For this, I will use word prediction. The hope is that Tommy will feel slightly more confident in his decoding and word reading abilities, enough so to begin typing his ideas. As he writes his text, the word prediction tool will be activated with the hope that his text will be written with more ease thanks to the nudge provided by word prediction. In their research, Ebnanova and her colleagues found that after using word prediction, students increased the total amount of words they had written from 21 to 36, and that their spelling accuracy increased from 50% to 96%. This tool will therefore prompt Tommy to complete a full written production on the topic of his choice. The final assessment of his difficulties in oral fluency will be observing the abilities in reading his writing final written production aloud. Now for training and evaluation. Training will be provided by Ms. Lalonde over a period of 6 weeks on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays for 60 minutes a day, cut up into 2 periods, 30 minutes during language arts in the AM and 30 minutes during lunch hour after having had a 30-minute break to eat his lunch and enjoy recess. Each Thursday, I will assess Tommy's understanding of what he has learned. This will vary based on the week's given learning strategy. The final culmination of understanding will take place on February 23rd. The first week will take place on January 15th, 16th, and 17th. Here we will be going over the basics of how the AT will be incorporated into Tommy's schedule. This will include determining when and where the AT will be used, designating a computer, going over AT tools that Google Read and Write has to offer. The duration will be 180 minutes. Assessment of understanding will take place on Thursday, January 18th. I will complete a checklist ensuring that Tommy is comfortable and aware of all tools provided by Google Read and Write. The second week will take place on January 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Here we will be working on Tommy's decoding abilities by navigating speech-to-text tool, brainstorming ideas, which will be automatically written on document, produce 5 sentences on dinosaurs with the help of speech-to-text. The duration will be of 180 minutes. Assessment of understanding will take place on Thursday, January 25th. Tommy will read his 5 sentences aloud to me. I will assess his improvements in decoding in comparison to his decoding abilities 1 week ago. The third week will take place on January 29th, 30th, and 31st. Here we will continue working on Tommy's decoding abilities by navigating text-to-speech tool. Working with his dinosaur document, he will activate his text-to-speech and read along with the automated voice. He will then edit his work on dinosaurs by, for example, adding commas, capitals, and periods. The duration will be of 180 minutes. Assessment of understanding will take place on Thursday, February 2nd. Tommy will once again read his 5 sentences aloud to me. I will assess his improvement in decoding in comparison to his initial reading of the text on January 25th. The fourth week will take place on January 5th, 6th, and 7th. Here we will work on Tommy's difficulties in word reading by learning how to use the highlighting tool. I will upload a text on Legos that Tommy will read aloud, 1 word at a time. He will highlight the difficult words, which will automatically create a separate vocabulary list. He will then go over his vocabulary list and learn how to pronounce the words, as well as be confident with the word meanings. The duration will be of 180 minutes. Assessment of understanding will take place on Thursday, February 8th. Tommy will read the words off his vocabulary list to me. Will provide a brief definition of the words using his own words. The 5th and 6th week will take place on February 12th, 13th, 14th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. Tommy and I will work on his difficulty and fluency by learning how to use the word prediction tool, reinforce his knowledge of vocabulary lists created in week 4, choose a topic that he wants to write about, add relevant words of his topic to the vocabulary list, and type two double-spaced pages on topic of choice with the help of word prediction. The duration of this will be 360 minutes. The final culmination of learning will take place on February 23, 2018. Tommy will produce a final written production with the topic of his choice and will read it aloud to me. This will be the final assessment of his understanding, as I will be grading improvements of his decoding skills, word fluency, and oral fluency.